Hello, this is Trish Kelly, Data Manager for Federal Programs and Oversight. Welcome to the Military Dependent Data Mini Webinar. As you know, our work in the department is guided by the Best for All Academic Strategy Plan, and our work is focused around academics, student readiness, and educators. Our agenda today begins with background information, including purpose of the collection, state and federal legislation, and district data collection. Next, we'll discuss military-dependent student classifications. There are three: active duty military-dependent student classification 4, National Guard military-dependent student classification 5, and reserve military-dependent student classification 6. We'll also discuss frequently asked questions and the student classifications research query. We'll conclude with suggestions for after the session and contact information. Starting with background information. The purpose of the collection is to provide data on the military status of parents and guardians, and with a twofold emphasis. This collection will help LEAs assess military-dependent student performance and better understand the relationship between military life and child development. Both state and federal legislation are at stake in the collection. At the state level, legislation requires districts to identify students whose parents or guardians serve in the military. At the federal level, under regulations related to the Every Student Succeeds Act, which is often known as ESSA, students with parents or guardians in active duty military service are a subgroup for assessment reporting. In terms of LEA data collection, this should be done through your registration and enrollment procedures. If your LEA does not currently collect military dependent status through registration enrollment procedures, please use a survey to collect the data for the current school year and add the collection to your enrollment process for the next school year. Turning now to the military dependent student classifications. There are three that are collected in EIS from your student information systems, and these three student classifications identify students whose parents or guardians serve in the military. There's student classification 4, active duty military dependent, student classification 5, National Guard military dependent, and student classification 6, reserve military dependent. Students are coded with the 4 active duty military dependent student classification when they have a parent or guardian on full-time duty in the Armed Forces, National Guard, or Reserves, where Armed Forces include Army, Navy, Air Force, Marine Corps, or Coast Guard. Students are coded with the 5 National Guard military dependent student classification when they have a parent or guardian who participates in the National Guard on a part-time basis. And students are coded with the 6 reserve military dependent student classification when they have a parent or guardian who participates on a part-time basis in a reserve force of a branch of the Armed Forces, including Army, Navy, Air Force, Marine Corps, or Coast Guard. Next, we'll discuss 3 frequently asked questions. First, what if both parents or guardians serve in the military and have the same status? In this case, the student is coded once with the appropriate student classification: 4, active duty military dependent, 5, National Guard military dependent, or 6, reserve military dependent. Frequently asked question 2, what if both parents or guardians serve in the military and do not share the same status? In this situation, the student is coded with both student classifications: 4, active duty military dependent, and 5, National Guard military dependent, 4, active duty military dependent, and 6, reserve military dependent, or 5, National Guard military dependent, and 6, reserve military dependent. Frequently asked question 3. What if a student is enlisting in the military? Recall the classifications refer to the status of the student's parent or guardian. The classifications do not apply to students. Turning now to the student classifications research query. You will use it to check your data in EIS. Start by logging into EIS as a district or school user. Then select Data Reports and Research Queries. From the list of research queries, select the Student Classifications Research Query. Select year and enter 2022 for the 22-23 school year. From the Student Classifications drop-down box, select the Military Dependent Student Classification of Interest. For example, select Active Duty Military Dependent 4 for students with parents or guardians in active duty military service. To run the query, select View Report. To download to a CSV or Excel file, use the file icon to the right of Find Next. And typically, you're going to want to do that if there's more than just a few students with one of the classifications. The research query results follow a standard format. School and student identifiers are on the left, and the variable of interest, in this case, the 4 active military dependent student classification, is on the right. We'll conclude now with a few suggestions for after the session. It's important to regularly collaborate with your colleagues in attendance, technology, federal programs, and other teams to ensure that your data are coded properly. Also, frequently check your data in your student information system and EIS and upload revisions as needed. Sometimes what you'll find is that your data have loaded to your student information system, but they aren't or haven't loaded fully to EIS. So again, it's important to check your data regularly. For additional departmental resources, please refer to the FPO Data Manual, and you can find it in ePlan, the TDO Resources section, or the department's Planning and Monitoring Guidance and Reference Materials webpage. There are also some additional resources that may be helpful to you on the Military Child Education Coalition, MCEC website, and also on the U.S. Department of Education's website. Finally, if you have questions about military dependent data and coding, please do contact me, Trish Kelly, at trish.kelly@tn.gov. For questions about EIS errors and restaging problems, please contact the District Technology Support Team at dt.support@tn.gov. Thank you very much for joining me in this session. I hope it was helpful to you, and I encourage you again to contact me if you do have questions.